Welcome to the Messianic Hour. I'm Judy Seculo. I'm glad that you're watching and listening to us. And what we're going to be talking about today is this on Saturday. Today is a national holiday, so to speak, in Israel. It's called Tu B'Shevat, which is the 15th of Shavat on the Jewish calendar. It's kind of like an Arbor Day, really. And it's a day in Israel where they go out and they plant trees and they eat of the 7 spices that's in Scripture. And we want to talk a little bit about it today, but we also want to encourage you to partner with us. One of the things you do on this day is you plant trees, as I said, and we would like to plant a garden in Israel. It's going to cost about $600. We'd like you to partner with us. You can go to the website and make a donation, and in there make a note that this is for the garden. But we want to bless.
100% of that will go to Israel. So in the comment section, or if you can't figure that out, just send us an email. We can figure it out.
Right. But we want to bless Israel, and that's one of the things that they do on Tu B'Shevat is to plant trees. But one thing that I thought was interesting, I had to pull my piece of paper here, is that in Israel, did you know that Israel is the only country that entered the 21st century with a net gain in its number of trees?
No, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Even more remarkably, in an area that's mainly desert. And in the past 50 years, guess how many trees have been planted?
I want to say it has to be in the millions.
Okay, yes, you've got that.
I would say over 6 million.
Oh, you're way off.
20 million.
You're way off.
Wow, how many?
260 million trees.
Wow.
Have been planted in Israel over the last 50 years.
And it makes it, one thing when we go to Israel, matter of fact, I want to encourage you, June 3rd through the 13th, we're going to Israel. You got to get your information in. Our deadline cutoff for at least knowing who's going on the trip for the initial deposit is February 15th, so we need to get that in. But, Judy, it's one of the things we do. We always go and we actually physically go and plant a tree in Israel. And it's one of the greatest blessings. It's so meaningful to know that you've actually blessed the land. And the Scripture tells us to do that. So I really want to encourage you, go to the website, rabbiscott.com. You can just click straight on the donation one. This will not be for an individual one. If you want to do an individual tree, there's a link for that as well. But we're going to be doing a garden in Israel. Help us bless the land. Make a straight donation. Again, 100% of that money goes to Israel.
And because of the tree planting, Israel is only one of 2 countries in the world where its deserts are shrinking versus expanding.
Right, and we've seen that in the land. It's amazing.
And we talked a couple of shows ago about Israel being a blessing to the world. And one of the ways, too, we talked about the desalination plants that they're working with San Diego, but an Israeli company pioneered the use of drip irrigation.
Which I'm about to say, you see that all through the land going through. Not only do you see this desert and you see these little black pipes going everywhere and these fertile trees, but what's also so neat, Judy, is you'll see a banana tree right next to an orange tree. Mm-hmm. And they tell you that can't happen, but in Israel it does.
And do you know, also thanks to science and balanced diets, Israeli cows produce more milk than any cow?
That's moolicious.
Oh,
sorry,
God.
I had to.
Really?
You knew I had to do that.
Okay, but let's go back to Tu B'Shevat, okay? Right now, that's this Saturday. And Tu B'Shevat is, in Judaism, it delegates 4 different new years within every 12-month period. And this one is, and Tu B'Shevat is actually the new year of trees.
Right.
And why do trees need a new year, do you ask?
Because of taxes.
That's right. And to understand that,
the trees get taxed.
That's right. To understand that, again, you've got to go back to ancient Israeli history when the temple stood, so you can understand that. And Leviticus 27:30 states, "A tithe of everything from the land, whether grain from the soil or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord." So in addition to animal sacrifices, grain and goodwill offerings, and the tithes that were brought to the temple as an act of worship, farmers were required to tithe on the fruit of their trees and the produce of their fields. Deuteronomy 8:7-9 says, "For the Lord your God is bringing you into a land with streams and pools of water, with streams flowing in the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, grape leaves and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and date honey. A land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing. A land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. So if you've got all of this, here's your 7 spices of the land. You've got to figure out, well, how do I know what to tithe? When do I tithe? And so our sages, the rabbis, basically established Tu B'Shevat as that demarcation line. And it's found
just like businesses do October, usually like end of October. Same idea.
And it's actually found in the Talmud, and it says a tree which began the fruiting process before Tu B'Shevat is tithed with the preceding year, and after Tu B'Shevat is tithed with the next year. So that's how farmers would know they've got a date in order to say, okay, because you always want to make sure you're giving back to God that which is owed to Him.
So that you can receive more blessings.
Exactly. And there were, again, with any good rabbi, there's debates, and the people who fell in line with Hillel are the ones that actually prevailed. His reasoning is the one that is more widely accepted.
Right. And his reasoning also falls in line very much with Yeshua's understanding, or what Yeshua meant, because many times Yeshua, when he was on earth, quotes Hillel, showing that Hillel was in line with how God originally intended it.
And the 15th day of Shavat was chosen because most of the annual rain in Israel falls before the 15th. So there, the tree. Then, as a result, the fruit of those trees which blossom after the 15th is considered to go for the next year.
Right.
And it's also a tree. Its age also has to be calculated. And you go, why do we care about how old trees are? Well, this comes from Leviticus 19, right, 23 through 25. And again, it says, when you enter the land and plant any kind of fruit tree, regard it as forbidden. For 3 years you are to consider it forbidden. It must not be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruits will be holy, an offering of praise to the Lord. But in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit. In this way, your harvest will be increased. I am the Lord your God.
And Judy, I've talked to people who do gardening, and they say that if you let a fruit tree do that, let it fall off naturally, let it go back into the ground, that will produce even better fruit in the years to come. So God knew what He was doing. He was a natural way of preparing the ground for the plant to be able to grow and blossom.
And it's interesting, another way in Orthodox communities, for little boys, they do not cut their hair for the first 3 years. Again, kind of taking it from this verse. So, you'll have little Orthodox boys who are 3 years old with these long hairs, and you're thinking they're girls, and they're not. But
our nephew did that. This
is just another way that they put this verse into play. Right. So Tu B'Shevat is a time, it's not really mentioned like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover, and all that, but it is a time where it's mentioned in the scripture. It's used again the same way as we have a mezuzah. How do we know to put a mezuzah on our doorpost? Because the sages gave us guidelines. Tu B'Shevat, how do you know to do this? Again, the sages have given us guidelines. And like we said, it's a day in Israel where they go out and they plant trees. It's kind of become a environmental day all the way around, and we really do want you to help us. We really want to go in and plant a garden in Israel so that we can be a part of blessing the land, having the land basically fulfill its prophecy. Right. It says that the deserts will rebloom. Well, to do that, you have to plant things. So we really want you to partner with us to go to the website, make a donation, and help us plant a garden.
So go to the website, rabbiscott.com. You see to click on to donate. You can do it electronically or through the U.S. Post Office. But again, we want to bless Israel. Remember, you could check us out on YouTube, Vimeo, your iPods, your iPads, your Androids, all those ways of connecting in with us at Twitter at Rabbi_Scott. Check us out. Check out the website. Remember, we are a listener-supported show. You can also bless this ministry as we get ready to leave you today. We want to bless you as we bless the land. Until next week, this is Rabbi Scott
And Judy.
saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.